Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the anime Parasyte the Maxim Season 1. And I thought this anime was okay, mainly because I felt that there were a lot of different directions that everything could have gone with in this anime, and it never really picked one. It kind of just surface did everything. And granted, there were some interesting character developments from like the two main characters, but other than that, we don't really get much going on for it. Now, as just if it was mainly focused on characters, sure, but you gotta balance that out with the plot. Otherwise, you're just like, okay, I understand and know that these characters are the main focus, but what are they doing? Why are they doing these things? So, this show is about parasites. And these parasites come to Earth, and like, their introduction is really fucking creepy. I do like what the goes on design style with these parasites and everything, because we see this one dude, his head goes, and then he eats this other woman's head, and it's like, what the fuck? And then we hear, hey, where's mom? And shit like that. And it's like, oh shit. So, then we get into our main protagonist, Shinichi, and he's freaking out. The parents are like, hey, what were we talking about that worm and shit like that? And we see that his right hand has been turned into a parasite. And we learn throughout the series that usually the parasites go for the head to take over the body, and it it goes, transforms the head, and turns it into the parasite. However, going through with this, we never learn why that is their intended kind of goal. We just get kind of philosophizing on it, where nothing is really explored or why it needs to be done that way. Because hell, even when we get into the parasites talking about it, we get to a point where they can actively change their behaviors and make it even better for them to coexist within their hosts. And it just happens. Okay, you would think it would be better than what would eventually happen if it's like, oh, okay. Because he at first is kind of adversarial with the thing, like, holy fucking shit, my arm. And I'm like, yeah, that would happen. And he names it Migi. And he's like, fine, I'll take a name, Migi, that'll work. And we see them kind of going around. Shinichi's very much a kind of very socially nervous and anxious kind of dude, and really not really prepared to deal with this kind of situation. And that's kind of cool because we're able to start him off here and then kind of see some different changes and then find him kind of the end of his journey, reconciling the two different kind of sides of himself. That's really kind of cool. And it's also helped to make sure that we have the caring Shinichi with the cold, calculating, alien kind of mind of Migi. So they're like, alright, fine, cool, whatever, because usually when the parasites take over the heads, they've got to eat humans for reasons. Migi doesn't need to do that, he just needs to eat a fuck ton. Get Shinichi to eat a fuck ton. So he's going around pretty much doing his stuff. He's got some friends at school that, yeah, they could have some names and everything, but they really don't really add much. They're usually more used as plot devices for things to happen to them and to force Shinichi to do something. Only one else that's got even more of an like a more kind of raised position in that is the character of Murano, who is the one that Shinichi's in love with. And she just pretty much goes around lamenting the fact that Shinichi pretty much changes until he gets back to his kind of better self. It's really kind of weird. They don't really give her that much kind of material to kind of grow on her own, because she just pretty much complains about Shinichi, and that's it. It's really fucking weird now that I think about it. It's just like, okay, she's kind of the most, she's got more of a defining characteristic, but I mean, one of her friends finds out that someone else is a parasite and pretty much gets ready to confront him, because the first kind of parasites that he kind of deals with is this Reiko Tamura kind of chick who goes to be a teacher at his school, and this Mr. A kind of dude who's like, fuck that thing, that's a failure, and then comes into the school to pretty much kill his ass for reasons. I mean, I understand it's doing kind of like body horror and kind of all that stuff, and like I don't mind the gore and everything, but it's like you kind of had to have kind of purpose behind it. Otherwise, it's just gore shock, and it's just like, fuck, why? And it's really kind of weird because I don't. I'm a weird dude. If I'm trying to watch something, I don't really want it to be censored. If it grosses me out and fucks me up, that's kind of on me to kind of deal with. Though, granted, if it's like a really kind of weird fucking thing, it's like, what? I want to have a little bit of warning, fine, whatever. But here, it's almost like when certain things go down and the dude who's going through the halls at first is like not attacking anybody. Well, he kind of attacks people, but doesn't go in hambo. We do see people getting killed and like dismembered and everything. There's like the partial kind of stuff of like that kind of half-ass censoring of like, oh, all right, like you would see in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures with certain things. I'm just like, that fucking sucks. It doesn't get as bad as fucking Sword Art Online's Alicization kind of shit, where I'm like, I know what's going on. I can't see fucking shit, but I know what fucking happens here. Let me watch it. Because, fuck. It doesn't get that bad, but there's certain instances I'm like, okay, you could just let it go because people are going to be watching this. Otherwise, don't fucking do it. But that dude's like, I'm going to kill Shinichi. And, of course, we see that Migi tries to make sure that Shinichi is able to kind of help himself. He's like, listen, you're going to have to kind of help out with this and attack. So we see them kind of teaming up and going through like, oh, okay, so we're essentially going to have like a kind of Batman kind of scenario where he's going to go out and kind of fight these parasites, right? Halvesies. It doesn't really fully commit because there is no overall writing objective for the parasites. We go through this whole thing, we don't fucking learn that. We don't fucking learn where they came from. We don't fucking learn what their objectives are. And they just barely... it's almost... They barely are given even their own kind of objectives, because Reiko finds this other parasite and makes him go in and be like, yeah, we're telling pretty much bullshit, and Shinichi will be like, yeah, we're here to like coexist with humans. I haven't eaten any humans. Lol, I eat all these girls and everything like that because that's what I do. It's fucking weird. She also had sex with the Mr. A dude and is pregnant with a human child, which I thought that was an interesting thing. Doesn't really add much except that she has a baby and it kind of changes her. She's one of the only parasites that has a kind of growth arc, and that's kind of interesting. We also see a part where Shinichi's parents decide to go on vacation. He's first worried about them, but he's like, they're going to be going out in the woods. Nothing's going to happen to them. And it's a horror anime, and something happens to him. Because one of the parasites was acting like a dill hole, and was like, hey, fuck you, whatever, buddy. Crashed into there, tried to take over the husband's body, but it didn't work because she'd usually been in a female body, and kills and takes over Shinichi's mother, kind of fucks up his dad. She kind of comes home, he's kind of messed up, and she stabs him through the heart, and this then begins the complete transformation of Shinichi, because Migi turns himself pretty much into a secondary heart, puts himself in Shinichi's chest, and pretty much heals everything. He's like knocked out for a couple days, and pretty much it fucks with his mental state because he's got like 30% of Migi now going throughout his body, and he can't really cry. He does team up with another dude who's got a parasite kind of like him, Uda, and except he's got it in his mouth, and we get, of course, his kind of side and everything. We also see this one chick who's like fucking hot for Shinichi, and that adds nothing. And we see that because of Migi getting into a system like that, he is stronger. He's got better senses and everything. He doesn't need his glasses anymore. He goes to try and kill this parasite person. Of course, he runs into the Uda dude. They kind of get together like, hey, yeah, can you help me look after my dad and everything like that? And of course, the mother parasite's like, I gotta take care of that shit. And of course, Uda kind of gets a little bit fucked up, and Shinichi's able to try and go at him, but Uda's the one that like frees his mother, kills her and everything. And we see that Shinichi just acts like more like Migi, as we see Migi pretty much getting a little bit more of Shinichi's kind of, not care, mind you, that more happens towards the end, but we see the gradual shift where Shinichi's able to calm himself a lot, and he doesn't really show his emotions as much anymore. Setting off Murano to be like, Shinichi, what's going on with you? Why won't you tell me? That goes on for so fucking long. And the thing is, It's not complete horrible, but I judge things based on their potential more. And granted, if something's got potential and executes it completely horribly, but yet I can understand it and like laugh at it and everything, I can deal with that more. When something has like potential like this, and then just really executes it just subparly, but not enough to make it completely funny and everything, I'm just like, come on, you could have done better than this. Because Murno is just like, Shinichi, why are you doing this? And Shinichi's like, I can't tell you because my hand will fucking kill you, in his head, of course. And he then just deals with more kind of parasites and shit. Oh, he also has this fucking weird chick, Kana, who's like, oh, I found my soulmate because she's got telekinetic abilities that can sense these parasite people. And she's sensed all these other parasite people, but thinks that like she's got the strongest kind of shit with Shinichi, and Shinichi's like, fucking stop doing this. And of course she gets stupid, so like, oh, Shinichi's here, and it's a parasite hiding in some place, and she tries to run out. Shinichi gets there too late, and she dies, and he's not able to kind of cry and mourn for her like he wants to, and he understands that it's breaking him, and he's like, at least my blood's human at the moment, and really trying to figure out what's going on with that. Like, okay, that's interesting, but she was dumb as shit, and yeah. And we find out that there's like parasites taking over like small government things, even though nobody knows why. Reiko Tamura, of course, had like fucking run out of the school after she had shown being pregnant, and is like within this parasite group, has given birth to the baby and is trying to figure out what's going on with it. And for some reason, this develops feelings for it. Now, I say for some reason develops feelings for it because there's no considerable arc of her understanding why she has any maternal feelings for this child. We just go from one day she has it and like, what the fuck's going on with this baby thing to, let's see, we get towards the end because she had set a investigator after Shinichi. Of course, Shinichi's trying to figure out what's going on. Migi attacks the dude because he had made a video recording. They then meet up with him and understand what's going on, give him the line. I was like, fuck, you should like sacrifice yourself for humanity. It's like, dude, I'm kind of trying to deal with this shit right now. And it's just like, alright. And the rest of the parasites just really have no objectives other than eating and making safer places to eat. And there's this Hirakawa dude who's the mayor. And there's this other dude named Goto. So the investigator dude is pretty much deemed a threat. They bomb his office, and two parasites go and kill his family. He's like freaking the fuck out. Tries to tell like the authorities about it. The authorities are like having no idea what's going on. They're like, test to do it. Now granted, I was interested in the test because it really reminded me of the thing where people would greet each other by pulling the hair out because it would act like the parasitic organism and be like before it died. And the thing is, that test, you have to get so fucking close, and whenever somebody did have a positive on it, they would be eaten by the people who were the parasites. Like, that's just about as effective as like I don't know, fucking going up to a goddamn lion and being like, ooh, you're a lion, ooh, and then rubbing their head, and then the lion eats you, and you're wondering why the fuck that didn't help you because you found out it's a lion. I don't know. I'm like, oh, now I know this is a dangerous creature, and I'm in maximum fucking effective range for it to kill me. No, not good, son of a bitch. Let's see. Yeah, other parasites pretty much were just like eaten. We see Shinichi pretty much fighting some shit and everything. We see them tag teaming more, and it's cool to see their evolution where Shinichi's able to be more on offensive as well and attacking because of his upgraded strength and everything. But we eventually get to it where the parasites deem that Reiko Tamura is kind of just like fucking her nuts and to try and kill her ass. And of course we had seen that being dealt with of like she was laughing at the detective dude. She's pretty much becoming more human, though we don't get the impetus for that change. That's important. You need to see the impetus for a change for it to make sense and to be like, oh, okay, that's important to the story, and it's kind of cool to see that. Otherwise she just starts laughing for no reason and caring for the kid more for no reason. So she pretty much has to go to the park because the dude who has lost his family went nuts and fucking kidnapped her kid. And like, hey, I'm gonna toss the baby over the edge. And she, of course, kills him and saves the baby. But of course, the police people are around because they needed the detective dude to find out more about these parasites and do their shit. They, of course, corner her because, hey, that baby's got blood on it. And Shinichi's there and just like, yeah, just kind of want to talk to you more about what's going on, that we were kind of weak and fragile on our own, and that maybe that we're closer related than what she had previously thought, and that Goto is a fragile dude, but he's invincible. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because evidently they're going to be... He had dealt with that dude, and he was fucking crazy as he's like 5 parasites interlinked in one body, which makes no sense how that would happen because of all those different metabolisms. He'd have to eat constantly. Like, constantly. Like, what? How would that even work? I don't know, because they don't explain it. They think that's not important enough. And of course, they're cornered, and she could have killed the people, but they just start shooting the shit out of her, even though she's protecting the baby. Now, I don't know about you, but even if there's a monster kind of thing, I would preferably try and get a baby away from it, because baby doesn't do fuck all, especially since it can't be like, hey, I can't stop something from picking me the motherfucking up. And then when she's protecting the kid, it'd be like, maybe we could take her in. I know that's kind of a weird thing to do, but she seems to be protecting that baby. I mean, granted, if we take the baby away, she probably won't. But, yeah. And she then is using her parasite powers to protect it and give it to Shinichi. And this is able to give Shinichi the goodbye to his mom that he needed, because the parasite was acting like a mom towards the baby. He cries, and we see that the Murano chick had been looking around that area, and then she sees that and is like, oh, Shinichi's back, okay. And Shinichi has to deal with the endgame scenario now introduced, where all these other parasites and everything, and deal with the Goto dude. Ooh. So this is where the government dealing with the parasites pulls out their really awesome and stupid trump card of, oh, we've got a serial killer that can tell the difference between humans and parasites. Because we got to throw that Hannibal Lecter thing in. They, of course, try to do it with Shinichi. He kind of works it out, but kind of doesn't, because he's not the true kind of stuff with the parasite. But that comes into effect later. So they decide to kind of like raid a place and deal with what's going on. And of course we see shit going down. They take out a good amount of the parasites, but then they also start killing humans as well indiscriminately, which I wouldn't have minded if they actually delved into that instead of just surface of like, oh look, these people are killing these other people. That's like, yeah, that's about it. It's like, okay, what are the repercussions of you just murdered a motherfucking civilian? Nope. Nada. Because we get to a point where big old deuce of Goto is just fucking rambling and rating at and taking at people. And he's like, oh, I'm kind of tired and I'm just going to run. Oh, it was like the stupidest reason, because you're looking at Shinichi like, hey! Because he dealt with this dude Miki, who was one of the parasites that was in control. They chopped his head off, but then he got back into the thing. Goto took over, was like, I can do this better! And he fucking could do it better, and it's like, oh, I'm like, alright, fine. And the thing is, this is important because we see like a bullet wound that's like one of the only places that he has that's like his Achilles heel. So most of that is taken out. Hirakawa is actually a human, and we don't know why these fucking parasites would be following a human. It's never expounded. It's like, oh, okay, human betrays humans. Any reason why? No, because we ain't gonna learn that at 7, because guess what? Fuck you. Now granted, there could have been more in the manga or whatnot, or better time to do it out, but I'm reviewing this based on the merits of the anime, and you don't get that information. If I have to go outside of something to get something pivotal for your story, that's a failure. Now, if I go outside for value add to the story, that's not a failure. But if I need something to understand what's going on, or to make things make sense, you failed at that, and you need to fucking have that in there. So, Shinichi's like, the serial killer dude's out in the wind, and then he's freaking out because the Goto dude's going to be coming after him. Him and Migi decide to go pretty much do it in the woods. They try and throw a car on him, doesn't work out, and Migi pretty much sacrifices himself to get Shinichi out of there. So Shinichi doesn't have his arm, he's running off, and they weren't able to take out Goto. Now, we see that pretty much Migi is dead. Like fucking crumpled skin shit on the ground at that point. Like, he can only be away from Shinichi for like 3 minutes or so. So he then like pretty much hides out with this old lady, and the group's like, we don't like outsiders here because they're dumping trash and shit. I'm like, okay. And there's a monster too. Okay. Then we find out that Goto's gone like primal form. I'm like, ugh. And Shinichi's like, alright, I gotta deal with this shit. And goes out. And we find he, of course, really is getting kind of fucked up. And he's trying to, like, mess with him, but he's gets pretty much screwed over. He does have good battle tactics, but of course he's missing an arm, and he doesn't have Migi, except we do see one little bit eyeball pop up in his stump at one point. It becomes important because things happen. He gets pretty much thrown into the trash pile as they're fighting, pretty much thinking he's going to die. He's able to take one thing and stab it into his wounded spot, and this kind of sets him off. And we see that Migi was somehow eaten and incorporated into Goto. Now, most of the time we've seen that the parasites die fairly effectively, and it was not shown that Goto ate him, and it doesn't show why, for whatever fucked up reason, eating Migi would have allowed Migi to still survive within him. We are not shown anything of this. We are not had any past experience that would believe this to be possible. It just comes out of the butt. Just ass pull, full stop to get Migi back as he like flies out, gets himself reattached to Shinichi, and they're able to pretty much hold him off until Goto explodes. And then, of course, Shinichi's ruminating on if he should take out Goto. If he's like, he's got a 50-50 shot of living, maybe this is for the Earth or whatnot. And then, of course, Migi's like, hey, the Earth's not really worth, it can't appreciate you appreciating it and all that kind of stuff. And then he's like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm like, no, that thing's got a 50% shot of like coming back and just being a complete asshole and killing and murdering things because it's adding nothing to the food chain. It's just fucking consuming resources like a diseased parasite that really doesn't work well with its host. Kill it. Granted, you could say the same things about humans, but it's like, come on. This one was like the easiest thing of like, yeah, gotta take that shit out. Of course, the townspeople rejoice. Hey, the thing's dead. He leaves the knife back there, and he's able to get back to town, and all is now right. Except we go a year into the future. I had to read to figure that out, but everything's pretty much cool. Most of his friends are off to college. He had to, of course, he's studying to make up for him and everything like that, and he's kind of perfected Shinichi of like he's got the well, he doesn't really have that much of the abilities anymore. I mean, he can be faster because at the beginning of the last episode we see that since he was part of Goto, Migi's like, yeah, I kind of like looking through all that information and shit, and so I'm just pretty much going to go to sleep and give your arm back. And of course this would affect Shinichi's biology and stuff as well, and you're like, no, Migi. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. He's pretty much going to go and doing like a dream realm shit, or going to a higher plane of existence kind of shit. Interesting. I'm like, alright. And we just see him and Murno going around and everything, and they're talking about the shit that was going on and all that. I do like that when they were at the part that was like affecting the school and all that, when like a lot of students got murdered, she was talking about how everybody was on edge. I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I totally get you going there. But it was just like, alright, weird kind of ruminations, fine. It's just, it was the surface level kind of stuff, acting kind of deep without really presenting the depth. So, of course, because we have to, Shinichi does see the serial killer kind of dude, because fuck all, nobody can fucking figure out what's going on with there. Oh, also, the rest of the parasites pretty much went dormant, and the murders have pretty much gone to just murders or whatnot, or they have decided to pretty much consume food like humans, which is like, that would have really saved a whole fuck ton of fucking problems. If you could have just been like, hey guys, why don't you just kind of eat this other shit here? Why do you have to eat humans? Because there's no fucking answer for that. If he could just be like, hey, can I talk to you guys? Why don't you just eat this kind of food? Because they can't say it. There's no answer. Fine, whatever. So, while they're dealing with that, he sees that the serial killer dude kind of follows him, takes Myrno hostage, takes her up to a fucking roof, and kills one dude, kills a chick, and then like, yeah, I kind of want to figure out what's going on with your ass. It's like, whatever, fine, whatever. And we had these things of like, oh yeah, Shinichi's trying to play catch up, and I was like, I've been trying to catch up to you, and now we're here, and he's pretty much got her at knife point, and he's about to like, I don't know if she was gonna fall off the edge or he was chucking her off the edge, but Shinichi goes in, uses his left arm to kind of block the knife, punches his ass, and tries to grab her with her right hand. But the thing is, he misses her, and it's like, ah, shit, she's gonna die. But of course, thankfully, Migi's like, yeah, I'm gonna let you take over now, because he had evidently stretched up. He said that he didn't know if he would wake up again, or if this would be a final goodbye, and I'm kind of like, okay, you put this kid through a lot of shit. Thank you for not killing Myrno, even though I, at this point, really couldn't care less. But he's got her, throws her up, and they're all safe and everything. They have their moments and everything. People come on like, oh god, there's 3 bodies! And that's it. I'm like, okay, I'm glad that Shinichi was able to get through his hero's journey, have something, and try and make a better life and all that. I'm like, but why? There really was no need for the fucking serial killer dude. There needed to be more work put into what was going on with the parasites by any kind of answers, really, to make sure that the plot, the characters had the proper motivations, other than because we wanted it to happen this way or the plot demands it to happen this way. So, overall recommendation, this is not the worst that I've seen, but it all depends upon what you want to try and get out of this. Character-wise, the only interesting characters would be Shinichi and Migi and Reiko Tamura. So, if you want, I wouldn't recommend this as like just like, oh, to give you really big depth in it. If you want that and you want some interesting action, it's not horrible, but it's serviceable. Sure, I could recommend this. Yeah, if you need like a palate cleanser, you want something to watch, yeah, I could definitely recommend this. Like, if you're actively wanting something to watch, this would work. This would also work in the background. If you're not into gore, definitely don't go for this. If you're not into body horror and kind of weird, freaking strange shit, not really for you. But I wouldn't say that you need to actively avoid this. There's just going to be irritation on like, okay, you don't really get solid answers, and only like the barest minimum of certain character development things happen on certain things. So your mileage is definitely going to vary. This is one that's kind of harder to kind of talk about because it depends upon where you weight certain things. Yeah. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.